Hello everyone. Thank you for your interest in the English Master's Program information video. My name is Minji and I'll be your host today. Today's speakers are Professor Michael Maloof, Natalie Royal, Alex Badley, and Danielle Pulsini, and Admissions Coordinator Holly Mason from the English Department. Welcome everyone, and please introduce yourselves and your backgrounds. Let's start with Professor Maloof.
Hello, I'm Professor Maloof. I'm the graduate director in the English department. My research and teaching interests are from modern British, Irish, and Caribbean literature, as well as cultural studies. For my background, I grew up in the Boston area, but I went to school in New York. I got my BA at NYU and my PhD at Columbia University. But in between, just want to note, I did an MA program, very similar to this one, before I went for the PhD at NC State. And I have been here at George Mason since 2005. Thank you.
Natalie?
Hi, my name is Natalie Royal, and I'm a second-year grad student with a concentration in literature. My concentration is exciting and unique because study extends beyond reading great literature. We have stimulating discussions about the texts, explore them through the lens of theory, examine the writing process itself, research textual history, and develop our own writing skills as well. I particularly enjoy researching Victorian literature. I recently identified every significant edition of Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray, and my research even took me to the Library of Congress, which I really enjoyed. I hope to continue my education after I complete my master's and hopefully one day obtain a doctorate. I'm also working towards a professional writing certificate, which I plan to utilize in technical writing work. I love that my department enables me to do the research I love while also giving me valuable skills that translate to the professional world.
Alex?
Hey, my name is Alex. I'm in the Teaching of Writing and Literature concentration here at Mason. I grew up in Fairfax, Virginia. I got my bachelor's degree in Spanish at George Mason, and I really enjoy the sort of the breadth of study of this program. I've gotten to study theory, pedagogy, research, and literature during my time in this, and that's been a really really enjoyable feature of this program, is really just getting to kind of engage my range of interests. And I'm going to be teaching English 101 in the fall.
Danielle?
Hi, I'm Danielle Pulsini. I'm a second year graduate student and my concentration is in cultural studies. I got my bachelor's degree from Appalachian State in North Carolina, and I am kind of coming back to university. I have taught for 8 years now, and so I came back to get my master's degree, and I'm hoping to teach dual enrollment classes and also just expand how I teach literature in my current classes.
Holly?
Hi, I'm Holly Mason. I am the Graduate Admissions Coordinator in the English Department. I got my undergraduate degree in English and Dance from UNC Greensboro, and I graduated from the MFA Creative Writing program at Mason in 2017. So I've been a member of the Mason community and the English department community for around 7 years now. I'm the person that you would reach out to with any questions about the application process or the program.
Welcome everyone. So let's get started by talking about the MA program. Professor Maloof, what can you tell us about the MA degree and what are some requirements for the MA program?
Okay, so our MA in English is unique in the fact that it's not strictly a literature master's program. It really reflects, we say here, the diversity of contemporary English studies, all the different things you can do with careers in English, from teaching, professional writing, but also cultural studies. So you're not only just looking at books, but you're looking at a range of cultural artifacts. And the students can concentrate in one, but also have electives and take classes in different concentrations. So they can come out with a very well-rounded MA. And you also can do certificates, which I can talk about later during the FAQs. To apply, like in terms of requirements for getting in, I think that's what you meant. We really look for a candidate's strong interest in the concentration that they're applying for, and which should come through in their personal statement. We like to see an undergraduate GPA of 3.5 or higher, strong letters of recommendation, and most importantly is a writing sample. For literature, cultural studies, and teaching of writing literature, this should be an extended analysis of a work of literature or culture, like film. In professional writing, we accept sample projects that you might have done, say technical writing or grant proposals, something like that. I always recommend the prospective students, if they're, what they're thinking they can do before they apply, is to really focus on the writing sample. If you are going to use an essay from your undergraduate career, maybe go back and revise it, check for any errors, make sure it looks as polished as possible. If you are coming from a different major, say, so we often get students who did a different major as an undergraduate and they're coming for an MA in English. In those cases, I recommend doing a non-degree and taking some classes as ways you can generate a writing sample, because it's such a big part of the application.
Thank you. Danielle, could you talk to us about your experience being an MA student in the program?
I started as a graduate student at George Mason last fall. As I said before, my concentration is in cultural studies. I'm really interested in how literature, media, and culture all inform each other and affect one another. Thus far, my experience has been really positive. I was worried about going back to university studies because I earned my bachelor in 2011, so it's been a while since I've been back in the classroom as a student. However, the English professors and the departmental staff have been really welcoming and always willing to help. So far, I've taken research in English studies, which made me reevaluate how editing and publication processes affect how we read different works. And then this past spring, I took my Intro to Cultural Studies class, and that really opened my eyes to how interconnected and ever-evolving our society is and how media greatly affects how we interpret our society. Overall, the MA program has really fostered greater curiosity in me and has made me more critical of the things that I read and the media I take in. So I'm really thankful for my experience thus far.
Thank you for your insights. Now let's move on to talking about the curriculum requirements. Professor Maloof, what are some course requirements for the English program? What are some required classes for students as well as electives for students to choose from?
Okay, so this could be a very long answer because we do have 4 different concentrations. What they all share is there's 30 credits, and there is a foreign language proficiency requirement for literature, cultural studies, and TWL, but not for professional writing and rhetoric. And none of them require a thesis or an exam to graduate. You can just do coursework for the 30 credits. All of the concentrations, something they have in common is they all have a research course that's also kind of a disciplinary awareness course. So that's kind of what Danielle was just talking about. So English 500 does that, but also they also have an introduction course that is kind of a theory course as well. So literary theory, theory of cultural studies, pedagogical research is kind of a theory course, as well as composition theory for TWL. So all of them have a very similar structure in terms of the pathway through the degree. I would say that I'll talk a little bit more about thesis stuff and research later on. But so each of them has room for electives in which you could take courses in different concentrations. Literature and cultural studies have the most flexibility in terms of taking classes in other concentrations, or professional writing and rhetoric and teaching of writing literature are a little more uniform in terms of the coursework you take. But there's still room for flexibility in how you can take those programs.
Great. Alex and Natalie, could you tell us about an elective you enjoyed? Let's start with Alex.
So I'm preparing to take my electives this fall. I'm really excited about getting the chance to study Spanish again, because that was one of my that was my bachelor's degree. So having the freedom to kind of pick from different electives, I'm going to be taking a class on Don Quixote in the fall. I'm going to be studying folklore and possibly linguistics. So it's really I don't know. It's for someone. I have like kind of a wide range of interests, and I really like the ability to continue to kind of dabble in these things as I move on.
Natalie?
I really enjoyed taking web authoring and design last semester, which will complement the technical writing course I'm taking in the fall. This is the course I took in the professional writing and rhetoric concentration. I found it to be really challenging but extremely rewarding, as I know how to do basic coding now and how to make a rhetorically effective web design. I now have an online writing portfolio that I have created to showcase my skill set. And the course is a great way for me to explore another concentration within my major, and it's what prompted me to pursue a professional writing certificate in addition to my master's.
Now that we've talked about some course requirements are not the only source of success for a graduate student. Professor Maloof, could you tell us about research opportunities, maybe capstones, and the optional thesis?
Yeah, so as I said before, we don't have a thesis or any capstone course requirements, but students do have the option of doing this. One is, and there's two options. One is a thesis, which is, of course, a long work that is administered by a faculty committee, and that usually has a few stages, a proposal stage, and then can usually take 2 semesters at the least to write. And that often I always see that as kind of like a passion project of something that somebody really wants to use the time to kind of really delve deeply into something that they've been wanting to work on. But they're not going to go to the level of, say, writing a book or a PhD on the subject. The project is a 1 semester. We sometimes do them as a cohort if we have a lot of them, but usually they're done as independent studies. And that's often done in professional writing and rhetoric and in cultural studies or literature. And usually what happens is the student works on with a single faculty member, and could be usually the idea is to have a article that is produced, something that would be worthy or possibly accepted, say, by a professional journal. So it's about 25 to 30 pages, but it's very polished and well developed and up to a certain professional standard. And we often recommend this is for students who are interested in using the MA to go into, say, PhD programs, because this makes a good writing sample. But again, none of those are required. We do have a lot of advanced research courses, 646 in literature studies, for instance, where students are doing levels of research. I think, as Natalie had mentioned, say going to the Library of Congress to do work, or in professional writing rhetoric, you're interviewing people who are, say, professional writers in DC and things like that. So we do have a lot of courses in which there's a lot of advanced research work that can be done as part of your curriculum here.
So now that we've talked about some requirements in the program, let's talk about some funding and support opportunities. Graduate programs can be very costly for students, especially if they're out of state. Professor Maloof, what kind of funding opportunities are available for master's students?
Well, for out-of-state students, there is a tuition discount that comes from the college. And the MA program has 4 GTA positions that are 2 years each. So that position lasts 2 years. That is what Alex is starting next year. And there's 2 for in-state, but also 2 for out-of-state students, and these are competitive, so you can do it when you're applying for the program. You can mention, I'm interested in applying for a GTA position, and then but that also is available for people who are already in the program, who then are also, we advertised for when they can apply for these positions. And it's decided by the Writing Center director and also the director of composition. Because one of the first year is done as a tutor in the Writing Center, and the second year you're teaching English 101 freshman composition. And we also have smaller positions that are their graduate faculty assistant positions, and these are 1 semester positions where it's an hourly position where students assist a faculty member with their research, which can be a great experience to kind of to learn more about the profession and the fields that you're interested in.
Another important thing to talk about when choosing the right graduate school is fit and the overall department culture. That's actually one of the questions I get a lot from incoming students in my department. Professor Malouf, how would you describe the department culture and what kind of support is there for students?
Well, I mean, I have these key words here. I mean, the one thing I have to say is diverse because our students really come from all walks of life. We do have a lot of people who are in mid-career change, for instance, who will come here. Being so close to DC, we get a lot of people who have been, say in the State Department for 20 years and now want to go back and teach. Or we have people who are coming straight out of their bachelor's program and right into English. So we really get a range of different of students, and sometimes the question I often get as grad director is like, people are afraid that the other students might not be like them, they'll be the oldest one, or that kind of thing. But in fact, that's never the case. I mean, because there's a real diverse group of people here. I also say professional because I do think that one of the things that happens here is you have a lot of people who are in transition going into professional writing, going into teaching, but you also have people say like Danielle, who's been teaching for a number of years, who's coming back for the MA. And that's a great source of contact for students also to kind of meet one another. And that's why I say collaborative, because I do think that students meeting in their classrooms is really one of the benefits you get. That's one of the most important things I think you can get from the program is that kind of a collaborative engagement with one another. And also the students are often engaged in all the different things that happen at George Mason, but also through the English department. For instance, we have the Fall for the Book every year. It's a great literary festival. And our MA students are often very active in both helping that and attending the events that go on there.
Natalie, what kind of support have you received in the program, and how would you describe the overall department culture?
The support I've received from both students and faculty is actually one of the things I love most about this department. I've never felt like I've been just left to my own devices. I've always felt like I was part of a community. Faculty advisor and professors are always really accessible and eager to help. And we have a unique culture because, as mentioned, our students are really diverse and from really all walks of life. The close-knit department facilitates an interaction between all of the different concentrations. And courses spark discussions that both develop our own personal ideas and challenge them, which creates a stimulating environment that really brings us together at the end of the day. Also, the friendships I've made extend beyond the classroom. It's always a pleasure to see familiar faces in my courses.
Thank you for your insights. Let's move on to talking about what happens after students graduate from the program. Professor Malouf, where do students typically go after graduating? And could you give us examples or jobs or graduate programs the students typically move on to after graduating?
Yeah, thank you, Minji. Yeah, we have a range of, because it's a broad English studies program, our students to go into a number of different paths out of this. It's hard to even kind of like limit them in some ways. For literature and cultural studies students, they often go to doctoral programs, and we have placed them in some leading programs in in different universities all over the country, and we've had some that one recent MA student got tenure. And also some of our cultural studies MA students go into the cultural studies PhD program here at Mason as well. And we try to really work with those students early in the process, just to signal to them the kind of courses they should be taking, what they need to be preparing in terms of writing samples, so that when it's time to apply, they've already been, they're not doing it at the last second. TWL students and the literature students, I should say, are often interested in teaching. So sometimes we have students who are doing concurrently the certification in the College of Ed and doing the MA here, either in TWL or in literature, because some of them might need the literature requirements. So many of them are populating area high schools in Fairfax, Loudoun, Prince William, and everything, but also at Nova Community Colleges, where you can teach with an MA. And professional writing students often are people who are already in the process of professional writing and that are coming back for professional development and enhancement. But it's also, again, a great way for students who are new in the professions to kind of meet people and learn a lot about what it's like out there and what to do. A lot of the coursework for the PWR program also is very much engaged with real proposals with real companies in the kind of real world settings as well. So I think overall, I think also taking different classes. So if you're in the literature concentration, I always recommend that you take electives in professional writing or in pedagogy, so you're getting that kind of other professional type of development that can help you.
That sounds like a really wide variety of jobs and opportunities for students. Alex, could you tell us about the MA program and could you tell us about how the MA program prepared you for a future teaching position?
So I guess just to start off, two classes in this program, English 615 and English 610, one of which is on the teaching of composition, and the other one is for teaching literature. I'd say these classes have been a really in-depth look at the process of developing a syllabus, developing individual lessons, and sort of working through, with people with teaching experience, what is realistic and what works in the classroom. I'm about to start teaching in the fall with this GTA position, and I feel like I've gotten a lot of really good preparation, having designed a syllabus in the past with this program, having designed lessons and worked through them with colleagues. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of really I guess practical preparation for everything that goes into designing and teaching, and I'm really excited to actually get into that in the fall with this program.
Danielle, could you give us some insight about your current job and how this master's program helped you?
Yeah, so this fall I'm entering my 9th year as a high school English teacher. And the school where I currently teach in Prince William County is extremely diverse. Our student population contains numerous races, ethnicities, gender identifications, sexualities, languages. We're a huge ESOL school. So the English MA program really makes me rethink and think more deeply about the works that I'm choosing and the editions that I'm choosing for my class and how that may affect their reading. It's also making me reevaluate how I present those works to students and teach them to try to maybe reach them in a different way culturally. My cultural studies class specifically has really inspired me to expand the readings for my students, to include more perspectives, and to encourage deeper investigation into how literature, media, and culture affect each other. And my program has really invigorated my lessons because I'm experiencing being a student again, so I'm kind of back in that mindset more than I have been before. And it allows me to better see, especially being in cultural studies, it allows me to better see the intersections of culture in which my students are existing. And so when I bring material to them, how can I best address where they are, in that intersection? So it's been really great. It's made me more curious, and it's made me more excited to return to my students as well.
That sounds fantastic. So let's now talk about how to actually apply for the English Master's program now. Holly, could you walk us through the application process?
Absolutely. First of all, some of the items that you will be required to submit are the unofficial transcript. If admitted, then you would submit the official transcript, a goal statement, which Dr. Malouf briefly touched on earlier, 2 recommendation letters. Those should come from an academic source for most of the concentrations, although the professional writing and rhetoric program, for that program, it's perfectly fine to have a professional recommendation letter. You'll also submit your resume and a writing sample, which again, Dr. Malouf talked about the importance of the writing sample earlier. We have details on our website for all of these application materials. describing how to submit your unofficial transcript as well as the official transcript, including more information about what should be in the goal statement. I get that question a lot. And also more information about the writing samples. If you're having trouble finding those details on our website, you can always reach out to me at hmason2@gmu.edu, and I can point you to that information.
Now here are some frequently asked questions for the department. Professor Maloof, could you please answer these frequently asked questions? Let's start with the first one. Can the program be done part-time?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And students do it in, this kind of also goes into the second one about how long the program takes and how long you have to finish it, because some students will do, if they're working full-time, they'll just do one course per semester. And then some will, to try to finish it, they'll do 3 per semester, that kind of thing. So it really is up to where you're at and what works for your schedule. I think how long to finish the program, I'll just add that. I think it's a 6-year is the max that we have here. So it can easily be fit in within that, typically people do it in 2 or 3 years.
Sounds great. And it sounds like you guys already answered when the classes are at. And you guys kind of already touched on the typical students, but maybe Danielle, Alex, or Natalie, if you guys want to kind of add on to who the typical students are, that'd be great. Let's maybe start with Danielle.
Sure. I mean, kind of touching on what is said previously, it's a really diverse group. So especially like in some of those intro courses where you have people from all different concentrations, or some of those elective courses where you have people from all different concentrations. You have people of all different ages, different backgrounds, people that are there for different reasons, whether they're there to go onto a PhD program or they're there to career switch. So it's hard to nail down exactly who the typical student is, just because it is pretty diverse. I will say, if you're hesitant because you're worried that there's not going to be someone with a similar reasoning or background to you, chances are there will be. So I wouldn't count that as a worry.
Thank you so much. And let's go to the next question. If I take the TWL concentration, can I get a certification for teaching?
Yeah, that's a common one because people are coming in looking for to go into high school teaching or community college teaching. And the answer is no. And usually what you do is you get that at the College of Ed. We have students who do it sometimes at the same time, or they'll do them in sequence. But that's something you have to go to the College of Education to do.
How are the cultural studies concentration connected to the PhD program?
Yeah, so the cultural studies, there aren't that many cultural studies PhD programs nationally. So sometimes students are very interested in going into the one here at Mason. The program here at Mason, you have to have an MA already. So some PhDs, it's a track, you get the MA in the process of getting the PhD. Our PhD program is you have to come in with the master's already. So very often, sometimes students will do the MA here in our English program and then go into the PhD here at Mason. There is a if we go back to the curriculum page, you could see that there is one course that you take in the PhD program as part of the cultural studies MA. So you do get to take one class in the PhD program. And then later, so I also want to add that there's regular colloquium that are held by the cultural studies program, usually once a week. And that's a great opportunity for students in the MA program to go there to meet, to hear great talks and to meet some of the faculty and things like that. Yeah, that was Cult 802, Histories of Cultural Studies, that is on the slide here. That's actually in the Cultural Studies PhD program. And usually people do that after they've gotten about 18 credits or so in the MA program.
Thank you. And lastly, how can or I guess in this term, the students, take one of the certificates, such as pedagogy, PWR, or folklore?
And we also have a new one, Literature and Composition, that was recently passed. I should have added that here. So the certificates are usually about 15 to 18 credits. Since most of the programs you have electives, you can take 6 of the credits for your certificate as part of your electives. So for just maybe say, a few extra credits, you can graduate with an MA in, say, literature, but then also have a certificate in professional writing. And this can help you when you're going out for different types of jobs, freelancing if you want to as an editor. Also for people going into teaching, having the pedagogy certificate can kind of help signal that you did literature, but you also have this other type of training in both kind of course construction and pedagogical research. So there's a number of different material that go into the certificates, but like I say, so it's a series, a few extra credits, and you just have to fill out a form. You can do it at any time while you're in the program. So sometimes people do this in their second year. They've already realized they've taken a number of classes, and they only need a few more to get the certificate. And so very often, though, we could process the paperwork, and you can kind of enter it, so you graduate with that extra, notice of what you did during your time here.
Finally, here are some helpful links for prospective students so that it can guide you before and during the application process. You can also send an email to chessgrad@gmu.edu, chssgrad@gmu.edu for more information. And if anyone else has anything to add, please let me know now. Otherwise, we're done with this recording. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.